Well, if you're in I'm going to call it the catering industry, so bars, clubs, restaurants, that sort of thing,
Mhm.
it's all about how your customers feel, how you're making them feel.
Yeah.
And it's quite an emotional business to be in. And as I would advise anybody anyway, but I would say get somebody in who's a hatchet person. Nearly said man then. Who's a hatchet person? Somebody who's going to come in and deliver some home truths that you don't want to hear.
What, to
Because
your
what you need,
staff or to you?
no, to you, to someone to say to you, to take your business apart and reassemble it and tell you all the places that you're getting it right, all the places you're getting it wrong. And then you can actually sit down and with that person and make some decisions that are non-emotional, that are mechanical
Yeah.
decisions. So let me give you an example. So you and me, we're running a bar and we've got 2 years to go on our lease. And in 2 years' time, we're going to get offered another lease. And that lease is probably going to be a long lease, and they're going to want to tie us in with personal guarantees and that sort of thing. So when it comes to the premises, I'd be saying, right, we need to look around for new premises and we need to find somewhere that we can get on a very short term agreement that's already being used as a bar that's closing down or which gives us the flexibility to close our business if we need to close our business. What I do is I go and see what's available, what's around. And if there were premises around, then I talk to the agents and the landlords about what sort of deal they could offer us. And then I would go back to our existing landlord and I'd say, look, this is what we're thinking of doing. We're thinking of moving. And because all commercial landlords,
They
I'm
should be
talking about
absolutely have a heart attack if someone says that to them.
exactly. And so what would happen is you'd either come up with two plans, one of two plans. You come up with a plan to take over another premises in the next 6 to 12 months and in effect duplicate what you're doing because you're going to shut down the bar you've got now early and get out of
Yeah.
that lease.
Yeah.
Or one of the things people forget, I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm not, is if let's just pretend for a second that you're my landlord and I've got a shop and I've got a lease with you. If both of us agree, we can tear that lease up and do a whole new lease right now.
Right.
If you want to hold me to that lease, you can. And if I want to hold you to that lease, I can. But if we both renegotiate a new lease now and we both agree, we can tear that lease up and put a new lease in its place. So you don't have to wait until the end of a lease to renegotiate.
People are terrified of change and they're also terrified of negotiating, aren't they? They think that
Yeah.
the other
But this is
person's
where
going to
you
think
need,
worse
this is
of
where you
them.
need,
Yeah.
yeah, but you need this other person
The hatchet man.
or woman, Life of Brian. Why do you want us to call you Loretta, Stan? Um,
Because I want to be a hatchet woman.
so what you got to understand is let's say you go and look at premises and you talk to the landlord and nothing changes.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't lost anything, have you?
No, you haven't, because they can't kick you out before the end of the lease.
Exactly. So, but what you might find is the landlord is switched on and you might be able to sign a new lease, which keeps the rent where it is now for the next 2 years, because you've got to pay that anyway,
Yeah.
then gives you a new period of time after that, which gives you flexibility to end it early, a reduced rent or whatever. Because the chances are, if I was the landlord, I'm looking at 2 years' time, you're going to be gone. I'm going to have an empty building, which I'm going to have to pay the rates on.
And so many businesses have gone bust that there isn't going to be the whole queue of people that there would have been to come and take
Oh
the
yeah, this is
over.
just it's going to be carnage. That's why there's so many charity shops. Because what the charity shops do is the charity shops don't pay any rent, but they pay the rates.
Ah,
So the
okay.
landlord doesn't have to pay the rates, but the charity shop doesn't pay rates because they're exempt from paying rates. So what you've got in the town is you've got all these commercial landlords who've given their shops to charity shops because they can't get rid of them to anyone else. And all they're doing is burning cash every month with the rates. So they're happy to have the charity shop because they're not burning that rates money anymore. The charity shops are happy because they've got a free shop. And the council are collecting less rates than ever before because they've got so many charity shops, they're exempt from paying rates. So what happens to all the other shops that pay rates is they pay increased rates because the council's collecting less rates overall, aren't they?
Okay, let's go on to number two. What would your second bit of advice be?
Ring fence everything you possibly can.
What does that mean?
So if you've got an overdraft at the bank and they've got a charge over your house, find a way to replace that borrowing. Get the charge off of your house.
Yeah.
Make sure that the company stands on its own 2 feet. If you've got a director's loan account, try and get as much money out of the business as possible. Make the business lean. Don't have any more money invested directly or indirectly in the business than you need. Because if you need to close the business in 18 months' time, then you'll have to close the business. One of the beauties of things like a bar and a restaurant is that if you start again tomorrow, because you had to close the business yesterday, people will still come back to the same place with the same chef and the same food and the same tables, the same chairs.
I'm feeling uneasy about this. I'm putting myself in the place of people listening. Why am I?
No, but what I'm
feeling
saying is, if you had to close it, if you, for whatever reason, if you had to close the business, but tomorrow you opened
a new
as
business,
a new name, a new business, people will still come back. You'll keep your clientele.
They wouldn't even notice, really, probably.
No. And I'm not suggesting that you just go around closing businesses left, right, and centre every 5 minutes. But if the economy determined that the business didn't work anymore because of legacy debt or whatever it was, rent rates, whatever, or you had to move the business to a new premises or whatever. I mean, I'm making up this name, so I'm not. There's no reference to anyone that's got this name. But if Giovanni's closed, and then Giovanni's opened, the same bloke opened a restaurant down the road 2 weeks later, everybody would go there, wouldn't they? Yeah, Luigi's. Yeah, everyone would go there, wouldn't they? Because it's the same.
As long as Giovanni had kept a mailing list of his customers so that he could let them know where he was going. I mean,
but restaurants is word of mouth, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Restaurants is word of mouth. And I remember telling someone a few years ago, they had their business, their restaurant open too much. And I said, well, you need to open Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays and Sunday lunchtime maximum. Why is that? I said, well, because all the people that are spread over the 7 days and nights will all come in that block of time.
Yeah.
He said, well, why will they come? I said, well, because they want to come here. And on a Tuesday, they'll go, yeah, we can't go to that place tonight. It's not open, but he's open Thursday. Let's book a table for Thursday night. So you're bringing all your customers into a more compact
This is also true of people like coaches and consultants and hairdressers and people like that. They're so terrified to miss a customer that they spread themselves so thin, and then they end up resentful and really struggling. Whereas they just don't realise that if you've got a great product, people will bend over backwards to accommodate you because they want your product.
Yeah, but I've told you before about the taking the Friday off thing, haven't I?
Not
I've
sure.
told you about this before. So, okay, if I said to you, you can imagine you're one of these business owners that you're talking about. So I said to you, I don't want you to go into work ever again on a Friday. What would you say?
That's madness. That's my most busy day.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is every Friday for the next 52 Fridays, you're going to spend all day with somebody important and successful. So this Friday's Elon Musk.
Okay.
The following Friday's Jeff Bezos. The following Friday's Alan, what's his name?
Sugar.
That's the bloke.
Yeah.
And it goes on like that for 52 weeks. Can you take Friday off now?
I think so, yes.
So you can take Friday off. You just need the motivation.
I'll move it around.
Yeah, so you can take Friday off. You just need the motivation, don't you?
Yeah.
So, and that's what it's all about. It's all about motivation. Do you want to save your business? Yes. Okay, so there's things you've got to do to save it.
Right.
And it might mean that you've got to shut the business 3 nights a week or...
Fear of change again, isn't it?
Yeah, but, a lot of these restaurants, most restaurants and pubs close for food on a Monday and a Tuesday night. Most of them do.
Yeah.
Because they've had to, because people aren't going out, because people can't afford it. Yeah. And it's obviously it's all business dependent. We're generalising, aren't we? But there's lots of stuff that you can do There's a curry house near me. I never go. It's a curry house near me. It's buffet on a Sunday, packed every Sunday.
Yeah.
And the reason it's packed is because it's cheap for the buffet.
It's
But how many people go out for a curry on a Sunday lunchtime?
it's
Well, not many,
no.
but they do now because you can just show up for the buffet. So,
yeah, make me feel very queasy, those buffets. So we've got renegotiate everything you can in advance. We've got ring fence your personal finances from your business finances. Make your business stand on its own 2 feet. Get lean, mean, and look at all your options. What else would you recommend people do? Things should be done at the beginning, but it's not too late.
oh no, it's not too late. No, put something aside for yourself.
That would have made so much difference to me in 2010. So much difference.
Well, I'm trying to tell young people now to buy silver, you know, and I'm giving a rough idea, but for 750 quid, you can buy a tube of 25 silver 1 ounce coins. And if I was 25 now and bought one of those, that would make a massive difference to me in the next 10 years. So it's about getting people to understand what's going to happen in the world, what's going down, what's going up. And of course, what people say is they say, well, money makes money and the rich always know where to put their money and all this sort of thing. And that's true. That's absolutely true. But because of the overwhelming amount of information that's available to everybody, virtually everybody on the planet, it's not a secret anymore. But people don't want to know. You look at China and Russia have been buying gold bullion for the last few years in massive amounts, still are. All the central banks are buying gold. Why is that? I mean, let me see. Hang on a second. Let me think. Maybe they know something we don't know.
Yes.
Why have they suddenly started buying all this gold?
Why is Russia starting a gold exchange? Why has China already started a gold exchange?
Why is China telling the whole of their population to buy silver?
Yeah. Why has Walmart started selling gold and silver in their stores?
It was crazy numbers I saw the other day for what Walmart are selling of gold. People are walking into Walmart buying gold bars.
Gold bars.
Put them in their trolley.
It is mental, isn't it? And this, as you say, this information is freely available, but because it is, people don't value it.
I think people they're not inquisitive enough, like you said at the start. They're not. And I think curious. That people need curious. That's the word. I think people need to understand that you and your business are two separate entities. You are not your business. Your business is not you. So you have to look at it as something that, it's there to serve you and to give you an income. And if for a period of time it can't give you an income, that's okay. If you've got other means you can live on. Yeah. But taking from you into a black hole of oblivion, equity from your house or your savings or your pension or whatever, that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
It's one I heard Rich Sheffrin say once. You've got to take from your business in the good times, so that when the bad times come, and they do invariably come because everything moves in a cycle, you can decide then whether to lend your business back some of that money or whether the business is not going to survive and you need to just kill it. But you've got to look at it unemotionally and you've got to make it provide for you, because otherwise, what is the point? The work you do running a business is so much longer and so much harder and so much more stressful than the work you do just going to work for someone else. So you've got to make it worth your while.
Absolutely. And if you're not making money, then you have to look at it from the point of view. I mean, I've met people that have lent their own business money, then paid themselves a salary with the money they've lent the business and pay tax on the money that they paid themselves. Now that is a complete lack of knowledge. That's not people being stupid.
No,
that's people not understanding how it works, which goes back to what we said at the start. You need to educate yourself on how things work, and finding somebody who can Because I mean, the good thing is if you bring somebody in to look at your business, and they sit there and they say to you, well, do you know, I've gone through this now, and I've got to be honest, because it's not difficult to look at a business. Anybody who's worth their salt can sit down and go through a business with the business owner in under 2 hours, including coffee and a cake, and draw some conclusions pretty quick.
Yeah.
As to what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. Now, it might take a bit of digging after that, depending on what business you're in and how complicated it is and your turnover and everything else. But at the end of it, if the person turns around and goes, you know what, I think you've got this pretty much sussed, then you know you're doing it right and you're doing the right thing. And you can talk about making it better. And if you're getting things wrong, you know, you can address those things and make yourself feel better.
As I'm sitting listening to you, I'm thinking about all of the years I've known you and how I never reached out for help in some of the times. But people don't know what you don't know, and they don't know what you're going through unless you ask for help. And it's such a hard thing for business owners to do, isn't it? To reach out and say, I need some help.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's understanding that reaching out and asking for help is a massive, massive strength. It's not a weakness. It's a strength. Being able to do that and because if you think about it, if you're running a business and you get somebody in and you say to them, well, I want you to tear this business apart and tell me what I'm doing wrong. And then they say, well, it all looks pretty good to me. And then you get another one in. So we're going to call them consultants. 3 consultants later, no one can find a hole in your plan. Well, you're the man, aren't you? You're the woman. You're the geezer. You're the chap. You're the man in the big chair. Because you've protected yourself. You know that it's like going for a health check, isn't it? You know, it's like an MOT on a car. You know?
Well, that's all. Yeah, that whole health check thing's a whole different ball game now since 2020, isn't it? But yeah,
well,
let's go.
But
let's go with the car analogy.
You know, if you go and see the doctor and they measure everything and everything's working, you walk out and you're very happy, aren't you?
Yes, but we know it won't be, don't we? Because they need to sell you something. I was talking to someone about a dentist today. Sure. She went to the hygienist yesterday and they poked around and caused a problem. And she's been up all night with toothache. So now she has to go back to the dentist and he has to fix it. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it, whether people are giving... Anyway, call me cynical. We won't go down too far down that.
No, not you. Not you, cynical. No, not you. But it's not in your nature.
So you've got to be able to, if you're paying someone to give you advice, if they've got any sense, they're going to give you such good advice that you're going to make back more than you paid them. You're going to make a return on your investment, and then you'll talk to them again, or you need to find a friend who is willing to talk to you.
It's understanding the motivation of the person that's coming to see you.
Yes,
if they're coming to see you because they genuinely want to help, then that's a different motivation. I'm trying to think of the name of that. There was a show with Don Cheadle in it, and it was brilliant. And it was about, what's it called? Do you know what? I'll have to find it, and I'll let you know, and you can put it into this chat or something.
Yeah.
But there's a show, a drama series on TV years ago with Don Cheadle, and he plays the man who is in charge of the team of consultants, and their job is to go into big corporations. And, you know, basically they find things that are wrong and they find ways to make money out of the corporation. Absolute sharks they are, but it's a brilliantly funny show.
Oh, okay.
To find the name of it. But yeah, so it's all about the motivation of the person that's coming to see you.
Yeah.
And I never forget what the guy that was sent to help us, who's became a good friend of ours, and to this day. And I never forget one of the things he said to us, and he sat us down, he said, you guys are really, this is after he'd looked at the business. He said, you guys are really good, aren't you? And we said, oh, thanks very much. He said, you're really good at buying, aren't you? And we were like, oh, we really appreciate that, mate. We've put a lot of work into buying good products at the right prices and getting the best deal we can, you know. And he said, and you're very good at selling, aren't you? And we said, oh, thanks. That's brilliant, you know. And then he said, but you can't fucking count, can you? And so it was a real eye opener that we were really good at selling our product, and we were very good at making the product at a good price to keep the costs down for us. Not cutting corners on quality, but we were very good at at that side of the business. But we didn't know the fundamentals about gross profit, net profit. We didn't understand. So we weren't building a solid base for our
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
It was all flying by the seat of our pants all the time.
Yeah.
But if we'd have stopped, taken a
Doing.
breath,
Yeah.
and started to look at the business from a mechanical, mathematical, business functional point of view, we could have built a great business. But of course, we didn't do that because we sold it because we were doing something else that was a lot more interesting. But
Made you a lot more money in between. Yeah.
But yeah, if I think it's getting an outsider's point of view, someone that's going to give you the bad news, that's not scared to tell you what you're doing wrong. You know, there's no point in getting somebody in who's a yes man.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to go, cool, yeah, you're brilliant. That'll be X amount of money, please.
And having someone acting as a sort of a board member, yeah, that you could get together regularly on a sort of semi-formal basis, because then you're more likely to do it. If it's a casual relationship, then you're much more likely to dodge it, aren't you? And the other person is not going to push the issue because there's no skin in the game for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very pro making people directors and board members. I don't like that side of business, but that's just me.
Yeah.
But give them an incentive. Every bit of profit that they help you make over what you're making now, you give them 10% of that profit.
But as someone who often gets offers like that, I know that if it doesn't depend on me to do the business, then it's not worth me getting into a profit pay situation, because I'm dependent on the other person to actually do the thing that needs to be done.
But that's what I'm saying. It's just an idea. But what I'm saying is if at the end of the day, there's got to be an element of trust.
Yes.
So if the business owner must trust the person that's helping them, and the person helping them must trust the business owner. So maybe there would be a retainer, monthly retainer, and a share of some profits or something like that. Yeah. But most of the time, the people who know what they're doing, who are helping the business owner, are not there to make money. They're there for a bit of pin money. They're there for a bit of extra income because they want to help.
And also when you get to a certain stage in your life and you've been through the mill, you want to help, you want to save other people from going through the mill. There is altruistic reasons there, and experienced business owners don't necessarily want to run businesses anymore, but they want to help people who are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great pleasure to be able to help people, and especially when people are in trouble.
You can make a real difference, yeah.
And yeah, you can. And I remember I use a line on people sometimes that was used on me by our mentor. It's written all over your face. Well, we're in real trouble here. Yeah, I know, it's written all over your face. Which goes back to the instincts thing again. You meet people. Intuition. I can meet business people, and most of the time I can tell whether they've got problems in their business or not by the way they are. And it's a horrible place to be, and a lot of the time it doesn't need to be that difficult. A lot of the time the business owners is making it, without realizing it, they're making it difficult for themselves.
Okay, I could sit and talk to you for hours, and we frequently do. So, but for people listening, is there anything you'd like to add to your list of three or four things I think we've covered now? Is there anything that we haven't talked about?
No, I don't think so. Not today. I think separating yourself from the business and being brutally honest about the business is two very important parts. And if you start looking around at what's going on in the world and you can see what's coming, it's very important at this time of the cycle that we're in. There's a lot of pain coming.
Let's talk for a minute about normalcy bias, which we see all the time in lots of different situations, where people feel they look out of the window, and because they can't see anything different, they can't believe that anything is different and that things are going on that they don't know about. How do you get over normalcy bias? Or how would you, if you were talking to someone who said that to you, and they can't believe what you're telling them, or they can't believe that something's happening in the world because it's so far from their average day-to-day life or their understanding of how things work? How do you get over normalcy bias?
Well, it's very difficult. And I think I try and explain to people that, because, I like an analogy.
You do like an analogy.
One analogy is, how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? Well, it's only one, but the light bulb's got to want to change. And so another one I like is, you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. And so it's whether people want to learn, it's whether people want to know more, they want to expand their knowledge. And if you really want to be secure and successful, then learning about all the other things that are out there that influence your ability to be successful is of key importance. There's no point. So if you don't want to learn, you're not going to be successful, because you're just going to get taken out by other factors that are beyond your understanding, beyond your control. If you're running a business and the government has just said, you're making widgets, and the government has just said, well, from December the 1st, 2024, it's illegal to manufacture those widgets anymore, and you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
You're going to have a shock on the 1st of December, 2024, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because you won't be able to make them anymore.
I mean, well, something like this happened in the property market just recently, didn't we? And people can't understand why it's so hard to find rental properties right now. And there are several reasons, one of which being that the government are making it nearly impossible for private landlords to own properties and cover their costs.
Yeah, because they're creating the disaster. They're creating the problem. I mean, if you look at, for example, near where I live, there's a housing estate being built. And I think there's a total of 500 properties, 250 have been built in the first phase. And the builders have just said they're not going ahead with the second phase.
Wow.
Because the problem with building new build houses is, once you start, you've got to finish it. You can't say, well, we'll just leave them like that without the roofs on. And,
Yeah.
And so they can see into the future, because they can't sell the ones they've built. During the 2020 experience, I said to a lot of people that in the end, all these businesses are going to realise that they can run their businesses with the majority of their staff at home. So they're going to be reaching the end of their commercial leases on office blocks. Because if you think about it, an office block, you've got the rent on the office block, haven't you? Okay. Then you've got the electricity, the insurance, the cleaning, the upkeep, the health and safety, the fire, So if you could reduce your office costs by 80%, because your staff are all now working from home and coming in 2 days a month, you're going to jump at the chance of that, aren't you?
Yeah.
So a lot of the office space.
Well, the accountant in the business will, the managers won't, because they won't initially believe that the people will work as well from home. But then what 2020 did was it proved that businesses could sail on regardless, because people are professional.
Exactly.
And they can work from home.
Exactly. I mean, if you ring, I don't know, Barclays Bank, you'll be speaking to someone on the helpline who's sitting in their kitchen. You can hear the dog barking in the background or the kids playing.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of property, commercial property, that's going to get government support to be turned into residential. So a lot of these office blocks, especially in London, big cities, are going to be turned into residential. And a lot of these new build houses are going to be taken over by the government in long-term rental agreements to house people. That's what's going to happen.
And the banks, I mean, Lloyds have said they want to be the biggest property landlord in the country, haven't they?
So it's knowing things like that and understanding why those things are happening helps you to make better decisions with the business that you're in, and obviously pertinent to the business you're in. And I was talking to somebody recently who's got a pub, and they've got a pub, very successful, fabulous food, and I think they've got 18 months to go on the lease. And he said, we're there, they want us to renew the lease. And I said, I bet they do. Because they want to tie you in, don't they? Yeah. They want you to renew early and extend it so you're tied in. I said, I wouldn't do that. I'd wait. I said, because there's going to be even more pubs. I mean, I read something that there's 150 pubs a week going bust or something. It's ridiculous.
I know, it's terrifying.
But there's going to come a point where you're going to be able to take over a pub that's empty with everything you need in it for a song and reduce your costs, which will help
Yeah.
you to survive when you have to reduce the costs of your food because of the problems that are coming.
I think, I mean, as someone who's owned a hotel, and we often fantasize, don't we, when we go out for lunch about having a restaurant and with rooms above so that we don't have to drive home and things like that. I often think that pubs really now need to find a beer and a wine of both colours and a soft drink that they can sell dirt cheap, because the thing that's stopping people going out at the moment is the fact that a glass of wine costs, nearly a tenner, and you can actually
That's insane, isn't it?
it is the same, because I'm willing to pay a bit extra for the atmosphere and the fun of being out, but I'm not willing to pay that kind of markup. So the best, there should be a pub in every town that cottons onto you've got to get the people in, and then after you've had a few cheap drinks, you're a bit more willing to spend a bit on food and things like that. And it's just crazy to me what pubs are so short-sighted. What pubs and restaurants are doing.
Yeah, but how much of that £8 is tax?
Well, that's a very good point, but you can't do anything about that as a business owner. You have to find ways around that, don't you?
Ah, well, there you go. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The external person coming in the door, you're going to say, well, how can you get around that problem? Well, let's come up with some ideas of how we can get around this problem.
Yeah.
And it's like fuel, isn't it? I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's something like £1.60 for a gallon of, sorry, a litre of diesel, of which 85p is tax. It's something ridiculous
It's
like
crazy.
that. And so we're being taxed into oblivion by all these things that have got all this tax in them. So you're earning money, paying tax on it, and then everything that you buy has got tax built into it. And then when you invest money, you pay tax on the money that you make out of investing the money. And then when you die, they tax you on the money that you've left.
Unless you know the way round the way that the rich people do it.
I'm not getting into that now.
No, absolutely. Okay, well, I think we should draw a line there, because you've given us so much great things to think about, and it's been a really enjoyable conversation as
Good. I hope
always.
it's been helpful.
Yeah, no, it has, and I obviously would love to invite you back at some point, because I really enjoy talking to you, and I'm sure my audience will get a lot of value out of this conversation. So, thank you very much, Greg. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, take care.